Hey everyone, and welcome to Book on a Shelf. Today, we're diving deep into a classic short story by the amazing Alice Walker, Everyday Use. You know, what happens when family members look at the exact same thing and see two completely different worlds? That's the question right at the heart of this story, and we're going to break down all of it: the plot, the characters, and the powerful themes about identity and heritage.
So, let's just boil it all down to this one single question. What actually makes something valuable? Is it its history? Is it something precious that you should put behind glass? Or is its real worth found in the way we use it every single day? That's the conflict that drives this entire family's story.
All right, here's our roadmap. We're going to start with that big question. Then we'll meet the family at the center of this drama. After that, we'll see how their different views lead to a major clash, which builds up to a battle for the family quilts. And that'll leave us with the big question: is heritage for everyday use, or is it a museum piece? To really get the tension in this story, you have to understand the specific time it's set in. This is so much more than just a family disagreement. It's really a snapshot of a massive cultural shift that was happening in America.
See, this story takes place during a really pivotal moment. The Black Pride movement was encouraging African Americans to embrace their African roots. We're talking names, clothing, traditions. It was all about connecting with a history that had been systematically ripped away. You've got to keep this in mind because it is absolutely crucial for understanding one of our main characters.
So, let's meet the three women at the heart of this story. And you know what? We'll let their mother, who's also our narrator, introduce them in her own powerful words. First up, we've got Mama. She's telling us the story, and right away, you know she's strong, she's capable, and she is deeply connected to her rural life. Her whole value system is built on being practical and just enduring. There's no fluff here. What you see is what you get.
And this is her younger daughter, Maggie. Oh, poor Maggie. She's so timid and she's scarred, not just physically from a house fire, but emotionally too. She kind of lives in the shadow of her older sister, always feeling like she just can't measure up. And this is how Maggie sees Dee, the educated, confident, older sister who seems to have it all. Dee's the one who got out, went to college, and she represents a completely different way of life. The contrast between these two sisters, well, that's the engine that drives this whole story. So the stage is set, right? And the fuse is lit the second Dee comes back home for a visit, bringing with her a whole new perspective and a whole new identity. Dee's arrival is a production. Her bright dress, her African greeting, her friend, it all immediately screams that she is not the same person who left home. She is putting on a performance of her new identity for her family to see. And this right here, this is the first big showdown. Mama tries to explain that the name Dee is her heritage. It connects her directly to her aunt, her grandma, and generations of women before her. But for Dee, who now calls herself Wangjero, that name is tainted. She sees it as a name from oppressors. She'd rather connect to a more abstract, distant African past than her own tangible family line. As she goes through the house, Dee, or Wangjero, starts looking at the objects of her childhood totally differently. They're not tools for living anymore, they're artifacts. Suddenly, the top of the butter churn isn't for churning butter, it's a centerpiece. The dasher is something artistic. It's like she's a tourist in her own home, snapping pictures and treating her family like they're exhibits in a museum. So, this clash of perspectives, heritage as something you live versus heritage as something you preserve, it all comes to a boiling point over two very special, very important items. Now, these are not just any quilts, not even close. They are a literal patchwork of the family's entire history. Every single scrap of fabric tells a story. A piece of a dress, a bit of an old shirt, even a piece from a Civil War uniform. They are the family's story, stitched together by the hands of the women who lived it. So when Wangjero finds out that Mama has promised these precious quilts to Maggie, she is just outraged. And her argument right here says it all. For her, actually using the quilts to stay warm would be destroying them. To appreciate them means you hang them on a wall, untouched. But here's the kicker. This is where it gets really interesting. Mama remembers something. When Dee was leaving for college, Mama offered her a quilt and Dee turned it down flat, said they were old-fashioned and out of style. This little detail is huge. It shows that her new appreciation for heritage is something she's learned, an intellectual idea, not a deep connection she's had her whole life. And this is the moment it all changes. Mama makes a choice. She doesn't side with the educated daughter who can give a lecture on the quilt's historical importance. No, she sides with Maggie, the quiet daughter who will actually use them, who will live the tradition they represent. It is such a powerful and decisive act.
So, what happens after the explosion? Let's unpack the aftermath and see how this one decision really solidifies the story's whole point about what heritage truly is.
Wangero's parting shot is just dripping with irony. Can you believe it? She, the one who rejected her family name, is accusing her mother and sister of not understanding their own heritage. In her mind, they're just ignorant, unable to see the real value of the things all around them.
And that brings us to the two completely different definitions of heritage here. For Dee, heritage is an artifact. It's something priceless you preserve and admire from a distance, a connection to an abstract idea. But for Maggie, heritage is a living, breathing thing. It's a practice. It's in her memories, in the skills she has, and in the simple act of using a family heirloom for its intended everyday purpose.
And this might be the most powerful line in the entire story, coming from Quiet Maggie. Her connection to her grandmother isn't trapped in an object, it's a living memory. Plus, she actually knows how to make more quilts. For her, the tradition is alive, and it's going to continue.
The story doesn't end with a big fight. It ends in a quiet moment of peace. After the storm of Wangero's visit blows through, it's just Mama and Maggie, sitting together. And you get the feeling that this simple connection, this present moment between them, well, that's the most authentic heritage of all.
In the end, Alice Walker doesn't really give us an easy answer. Instead, she leaves us with this huge question to think about in our own lives. When you think about your own heritage, your own family history, how do you keep it alive? Do you put it behind glass to preserve it? Or do you weave it into the fabric of your everyday life? It's a great question. Well, that's all for this explainer. Thanks so much for hanging out with us at Book on a Shelf. If you enjoyed it, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And stay tuned for our next episode.